Thank you for having us, by the way. Appreciate it. Well, we have the expert, James, here, who's probably going to be able to give us more insight into that. But data is just obviously very important to all the brands that are out there and what they're trying to accomplish as we continue to develop and make changes into what the ecosystem looks like. It is going to be continue to be a very important part of how the brands want to approach the business. So, I'm excited to really see in 2 years what it's going to be. 2 years ago, everything was about data-driven linear and buying certain audience. In 2 years, it's probably going to be something else. We'll probably have a different company that's going to oversee it. And then you hear the announcement, someone like Omnicom doing with Amazon this morning, announcing that. So it's going to constantly evolve, and it's going to be very important to what the brands are trying to achieve and how they approach it and how it impacts the media business and the investment that people make. I think it will continue to evolve into something that's going to be different, but the centerpiece and the foundation of what we do.
Fantastic. James, how would you build on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, first, I'm James Zaumeyer. I run the sales team for EDO Inc. We're a TV measurement company. I've been in the ad measurement space for more than 20 years now, and I think that the data supports that TV is going to be here. It's going to have a huge role in media. I think the difference will be in whether it's streaming or linear. That doesn't matter as much. It's TV, because the data would show you that TV, like no other medium, can create moments for consumers, for brands to really deliver their story in an engaging environment. And whether that moment is for an individual who chose to watch something that you can then target with data from the likes of Acxiom and others, where you believe that they're in your target audience, and deliver a curated ad to that individual. Or if it's at a broader-based live moment, whether that's a live event or live sports or even a scheduled program, where you have much wider reach and you can become, a brand can have the opportunity to become part of that broader moment, maybe even capture some anticipation and capture some chatter after the event, right? And really become part of that moment.
Chris.
Guess I'm next, right? So when we talk data, Acxiom is well known on the data space, but it's really important to differentiate what kind of data we are talking about. There's third-party data that we've been in that space for quite some time, where the data is available everywhere to be utilized. But what is happening lately, we are supporting brands to build their own first-party data. And then when I start talking about, a lot of people are worried that Acxiom, as they are helping brands to build, that data is not being utilized on the third. There is a big wall in between. The first-party graph that we help brands to build is what is empowering them for the future of media, to reach that right audience. So there's a big difference there that I just want to make sure I level set when I'm talking about data, because there's the first-party side, right? And it takes some time to build that.
So, Chris, you talk a lot about owning your data versus renting your data.
Yes.
Let's talk to us a little bit about what does that mean?
Yeah, so when I talk to brands, this, for the past, I guess, like 3 years, right? Like, cookies are going away. I'm talking with advertisers, what can they do? And then it's a journey. And it takes some time to build that graph. You are collecting on behalf of the advertiser with proper consent. Oftentimes we are collecting PII information, but we are also collecting the pseudo signals. And one client came to me and said, like, Christiane, that's gonna take so long to build, and I don't have time for that, and I just wanna buy this graph here and use it as if it's mine. And I said, well, you're actually renting that because it's not yours. What I'm proposing to you is to build yours. So that's, what are the benefits to build? When you build, it's yours, right? So even if Acxiom is not involved on the services and the agency of for that specific brand goes away or change, that graph, that data set belongs to the brand. So that is the big differentiation. But
so, James, question for you on the heels of that, right? As
Sure.
we're just starting this conversation about the future of media. There's a lot of talk about TV, and a lot of talk about TV is dying. Is TV dying, or does the future of media include TV?
Yeah, I mean, TV is not, as I said, TV is not dying, and I think you made some great points, Chris. The importance of having that really rich owned data is going to be it's going to help the TV continue to thrive, right? Because TV is obviously becoming more addressable, and you've got to set your campaigns up for success. You just have to do everything that you can to set them up for success, but that's not where it ends, too. Right, setting a campaign up for success using audience data or reach and frequency is necessary, but we also have to kind of go beyond that and say, all right, did it actually work? Right? Did it drive the outcome that you were looking for? Did it actually have a consumer see that ad, be inspired by that ad, maybe even move from consideration to intent? And I think what we've seen over and over again in our data is that TV does that better than anybody. And when I say TV, I'm saying TV, live or scheduled or on demand. And TV is one of the best mediums to actually drive that brand engagement. And with the right data sets and the right data science, you can actually then tie that brand engagement to those TV ads. Fantastic.
Tony, what would you add?
No, I mean, James put it, perfectly there. TV is always going to be part of future of the media. I think there's the foundation of where we are today is based on TV and journalism in general. I work for Scripps, where we have several different networks we represent, and obviously our CTV continues to grow, and we are trying to monetize all of it, and we're trying to connect the dots between the two platforms, and that's what everyone is here trying to do. And this is a perfect place for us to connect with different people to try to make that happen. So what James is talking about is exactly what we're doing, and the data is important, engagement is important. I think content is still very important. I think, on television, lack of fraud is important. So I think that's really, really important for a lot of the brands and advertisers we work with.
Let's touch on culture a little bit. So I'm a big believer that brands who integrate themselves into culture are brands that grow revenue and profit, and brands who move at the speed of culture are brands who grow revenue and profit. Tony, talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing as you sit at the center of culture unfolding before our eyes today.
No, that's a great question, and that's a big part of our conversation with our clients and our advertisers for the past, pretty much my whole career. As Chris mentioned, we want to build stories together with our brands and with our clients instead of just storytelling. But what is the most important thing is being part of the culture, right? So on ION, which is one of our networks, we have WNBA. And as everybody knows, women's sports is something that has been, everyone's talking about, everyone's be part of, and it's part of the big culture movement. And we have so many brands that are coming on board. ION, we had WNBA last year before it became what it is today because we believed in women's sports. And now we have so many brands that never looked at it before wanting to be part of it. And we are also selling NWSL of the National Women's Sports Soccer League. And that is also important. So are you a true believer in women's sports, which is a big part of the culture movement right now and what's important for a lot of brands?
Tony, a follow-on question there.
Sure.
There's a lot of brands who would love to jump into the women's sports movement, if we call it that. Who are the brands that you think are doing it really well, and how do you actually integrate into culture and into women's sports versus just talking at people?
Yeah, I think I just came back from actually another panel. Another panel where the Pepsi CMO spoke. I think Pepsi is one of the brands that's actually done a really good job. They actually are one of the first brands to have a female athlete with Michael Jordan in their commercial for Gatorade. This was 1997, I believe, and Mia Hamm was obviously one of the biggest names. And they have continued to support women's sports. And I think they're one of the very authentic brands that are out there. And I think that's the most important thing is really who's being authentic about supporting women's sports versus we just want to be part of what everyone is talking about.
Can I jump in?
Please.
I think another brand, and I can do this, Invisalign's not an EDO client, but the syndicated nature of our data allows us to understand the strategies and how effective they are of brands and networks. And I would say that Invisalign is a brand that does a great job of capitalizing on cultural moments. Cultural moments can be big, they can be small. The example that I would use is a specific example about Invisalign, where Invisalign took advantage of the Green Bay Packers fandom, right, as a cultural moment, where they didn't just, decide that, hey, we want to buy an NFL ad on Fox. They said, we want to make a big investment and we want to deliver a really great and engaging ad, and we want to do it in a cohesive way. So not just an ad in the NFL, but it was an ad in a Green Bay Packers game with an NFL sponsorship and a Green Bay Packers player. And that ad airing, while it was your most expensive, also generated 10x the amount of brand engagement as any other of their broadcast ads, and 3x the amount of engagement as any of their other NFL ads. So that was a great example of you taking advantage of cultural moments.
Well, I appreciate that. That was totally unplanned. So thank you so much. Chris, talk to us a little bit about how integrating culture works in your organization and how you're helping brands.
Yeah, I can mention brands since I work with their first-party data, and that's confidential, but I am working in several exciting projects where imagine we are utilizing first-party data enhanced with Acxiom and other data sets, and looking for that specific consumer, let's say Invisalign, to be in a pre-roll on a video with Taylor Swift, and then having that connection with Taylor Swift. And really, if you connect with that artist, we are seeing a really big uptick on the consideration for that product.
That's awesome. So media informing creative and creative informing media, so that both work synergistically together.
Absolutely.
Tony, how are you guys seeing media inform creative and creative informing media?
I think it's part of the overall, strategy for everybody, right? I think, as mentioned, I think story building is very important. Storytelling, obviously, it is, but we want to build stories with everybody, and that's part of the creative process. I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of creative people behind the scenes to come up with some really cool stories, and not only tell them, but also help build it and have a platform to tell the story. So there's so many different ways of media and creative just go together. I think it's whether it's television or digital or CTV or whatever it may be, social media. I think everyone here is somewhat creative, and I think that's what is exciting about part of what we do, is being able to come out and say, like, let's get creative and do something very different from what everyone else is doing.
Fantastic. James, you guys are sitting with so much data at your fingertips that helps inform this question, right? Who are you seeing do this well in terms of the synergies between media and creative?
Yeah, I mean, Scripps and Invisalign. No, I mean, a lot of companies are doing, I think, a really good job overall. One of the things that we focus on with our clients is actually looking at the combination of the two, right? So our data allows you to isolate for factors of creative performance and isolate for factors of media performance. And looking at them in silos is interesting and can give you a really good read on, am I making good bets with these two things, and is the creative resonating? But what we have really found to drive the success for a brand is looking at not just creative by itself and not media by itself, but is what creative can perform best in what media environments. And in a medium like linear TV, where you have so few optimization levers, one of the things that you can actually do is use your creative assets, whether they are the ones that are today, whether they are the ones that you used a year ago, the ones that you want to make sure you use the good ones, and then find the right media placements where you can see immediate signals of success to continue iterate. And what's really powerful is when you don't just look at it through the lens of your own brand, but when you look at it through the lens of what other brands have done to drive success, to learn from their success and learn from their mistakes, to find the best combination of both media and creative to see what can drive the most engagement that can be tied to your advertising.
Cool. Chris, anything to add there?
No, I think you know.
All right. We're going to hit a hot topic that one perhaps is overtalked, overused, and one that many people are super passionate about. So, James, let's hear your take on what does the future of media look like when you think about AI?
Oh, threw me for a loop there for AI.
Since you're so passionate about this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I think about AI in the advertising world, one is I'm not scared of it in any way whatsoever. I don't think it's going to replace anybody's jobs. I think the people that will get replaced by AI are the people that don't know how to use AI, because that is definitely going to become a part of it. I think the most and the clearest applications that we've seen are ones in people using it for creative variation. That's a good one as well. But what we use it internally is when you have massive amounts of data. Like we do, we've got every single ad airing for the last 8 years across all of national live linear and every single creative and engagement behavior by the minute for the last 8 years tied to those brands. It's using artificial intelligence, machine learning, whatever the flavor of that is today, to be able to generate those insights in a way that is not just data heavy, but it is a way that is succinct and concise. That when you share it with the media planner can take it to the account lead, can take it to the CMO, can take it to the CFO, and say, look, what I did worked, and I want more money.
Chris.
Well, I come from the data perspective, and when you're talking about AI, trash in, trash out, so the data that feeds the LLM needs to be properly formatted and right? So as we move into really and help with creative optimization, there's a lot of things there naturally, but everything's privacy by design, and we have a long way to go to make sure that we do that accurately. Correct.
Tony.
I think AI will just help make things more efficient. I think just the operating side of it, the back room, I think it will make things less mistake-free. There'll be less discrepancies we've got to deal with. But I do still believe in relationships. I think this is the reason why we're out here building relationships and seeing folks. And I think that's a very important part that AI can't never duplicate. So I do believe that it will be a huge part of what we do. It will obviously take over parts of our business. But at the end of the day, I think it just makes our jobs a little bit better, easier, because it will make everything more efficient.
Awesome. I know it's a hot take, something that many people don't want to talk about, over talked about. So appreciate your thoughts on AI. As we get to the final leg of this panel, let's talk about the future of media as you look ahead in the next 12 months. What are you most excited about? Chris, let's start with you.
What I'm most excited about, Nassi, you caught me on that one. I want to be able to, there's some tests, like some projects that I'm working on the test, on testing first, like closing loop of the first party graphs. I'm really excited, and there is a big problem out there on the future of media without cookies. So I'm excited. Like, I'm trying to figure out which ID out there will prevail in terms of a language to communicate with the entire ecosystem.
Nice. James?
Can 2025?
Ooh, much better.
I know. I think I'm really excited about seeing how the content owners, the networks, the streamers, how they start to blur the lines between linear and streaming, and what they can do in very creative ways to create moments, right? And I think that there's lots of examples that go beyond live sports, which is the most obvious moment I find. But there's lots of other examples. For example, maybe the season premiere of The Bear airs on Thursday night at 9 p.m. and then is available on demand 2 days later, right? And I want to see some networks get really creative in that, where they can capture that anticipation. They can capture a wide audience that are engaged with the content that they've been waiting for, that they can capture the water cooler or Zoom chatter, I guess, that happens before the lovely chatter that happens before every online meeting, and give consumers what they want, which is something to talk about and something to be excited about. Give brands what they want is a wide-reaching environment to engage brands in a meaningful way. And give networks something that they want, which is the ability to charge a premium for that, right? And raise those CPMs. And brands would be happy to pay for that premium if they knew that it was going to be an anticipated and talked about event. And I think what's important is then you need to just constantly ensure that that investment is working and driving the outcome that you're looking for.
Yeah. I'd say from a brand standpoint, yes, 100% brands would be happy with that. Tony?
No, I love both their answers. I think it's great. Can 2025, definitely. We'll we'll definitely get out there. But you know, I think they answered it perfectly. My personal, just really what I'm looking forward to next 12 months is just being innovative and being different. I think, you know, we sometimes fall into the legacy of this business, even though technology keeps changing. AI obviously changes a lot of things. Just being more creative. My boss always tells me about doing things differently, and I, you know, really believe in that. So I would love to see some changes and continue to really work on some innovative stuff with everybody.
Fantastic. Team, thank you very much. Really appreciate everyone's
so
point
much.
of view. Thanks for being with us. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back.